What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from Anime Upper, and I'm back at it again to discuss the latest and craziest developments in the One Piece story. We got Zoro vs Mihawk, huge action, huge reveals, the mystery of Stussy revealed, an insane unexpected appearance, and much more, so make sure to stay tuned for this epic chapter. Channel Power King with it, and smash that like button with no mercy if you enjoyed these weekly review videos and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama if you haven't already by subscribing and ringing that notification bell to turn on all notifications so you don't miss future videos. Last week, over 54% of you watching weren't subscribed, so let's try to get that number down to at least 50% this time. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. This chapter is called Miss Buckingham Stussy, and of course it's called that because we'll get to figure out what's going on after that insane cliffhanger last chapter where Stussy took out Kaku before aiming her sights on fellow CP0 member Luchi. I usually don't mention cover stories, but this one is too good and perfect. We see a flashback to Vegapunk getting the Ibel Peace Prize, so like our Nobel Peace Prize pretty much, for developing the GP flower, a flower that blooms in gunpowder. It goes well with what we've learned about Vegapunk, which is that he wants peace and freedom, but it's also just hilarious seeing how shocked the dudes in tanks look as they see their battlefield turn into a beautiful garden of flowers. It's just so Oda and I love it. But back to Luchi's reaction to Stussy's betrayal. Very serious stuff here. Kaku is on the ground passed out and Luchi is sweating, clearly confused. He says it's a bitter pill to swallow, while Stussy looks calm and even smiles. She's really fast too. Luchi goes for the kill, but she uses an after image technique to avoid the attack. Then we get a great scene. She uses her lipstick, which actually contains sea stone, to weaken Luchi before also sucking his blood. She explains that she knows how strong they are, so it would be stupid to fight them fair and square. And I like to see characters like that occasionally who don't want to win fair and square, they'll do whatever is necessary to win. Anyways, Luchi collapses, and so Stussy just dealt with two strong CP0 agents all by herself, but the big question is, why? And maybe she didn't touch the sea stone herself, but since she's a clone, it is possible that her powers aren't a real devil fruit, so she could even be unaffected by sea stone, which would give her a big leg up compared to devil fruit users, especially when she has access to sea stone. This is also possible because we even saw how the Seraphims have fruit powers without actually having consumed the fruits. The favorite theory in the comment section last week though was definitely that Stussy had a mythical succubus fruit. Anyways, for now, we gotta see why she did that. Zoro and Brook are similarly confused. Stussy then calls the Vegapunks and lets them know that she put the two to sleep. So she was on Vegapunk's side, which makes sense since she was, as a clone, created by Vegapunk. Daft Punk explains that she beat Luchi because she took him by surprise and that her loyalty was kept a secret even after she spent 20 years as one of their agents. On a side note, I love it when characters can hide their true allegiance for so long, even if it was a bit less impactful here just because we haven't gotten a lot of Stussy time. It's funny when Vegapunk points out that it wasn't his intention to have a mole in the intelligence branch, but that's just how it turned out. So yeah, things are looking really good for our side, one might even say too good, so you gotta be expecting a kind of reversal of fortune soon. For now though, Stussy comments that she can't override the Seraphims because she's the same level of authority as Luchi. I feel like that could have gone either way, like a person of the same level could have had that power. But in this case, it is more interesting for the story if she doesn't, and they have to hold off the Seraphims until the Vegapunks arrive. And I'm glad she didn't have the power because it leads to something I've been talking about and waiting for a while now. But more on that in a bit. We see shots of the Seraphims like little Boa firing shots, and the Vegapunks trying to get there fast to override them with their higher authority. Zoro and Brook are running at first as they notice the similarities of the Seraphims to people they know, and it appears like Zoro even comments on how the Jinbei one is especially familiar. I also love how the Seraphims just keep blowing holes into the walls, and Lilith just uses them to get out faster. It's perfect. She gets out and she's about to give the orders, but the Mihawk Seraphim is so fast he's about to attack before she can even get it out. Luckily, and this is what I've been waiting for, Zoro engages in combat with the Mihawk Seraphim. Like I said, I think this battle will be a great one to have before Zoro actually takes on the real Mihawk. So they clash and you actually see what looks like sweat on the face of the Mihawk Seraphim. Zoro is so cool, man. He just smiles, saying on closer inspection, you're not the same. You actually have a spark of humanity still. Not only is it funny because he's saying that the Pacifista has a spark of humanity still, but it's even funnier because the implication here is that the Pacifista actually has more humanity than Mihawk, an actual human, as far as we know. Love this interaction, and it definitely implies little Mihawk is far from Mihawk level, at least for now, but it was said before that they are growing like humans, so you never know what their potential is. As Zoro clashes with the Seraphim, Sanji comes and saves Edison from a little Jinbei attack, so that Edison can actually deliver his order and the Seraphims finally stop. And things seem right with the world again, and our guys are in an amazing position. The Seraphims are under control, Stussy is helping them, and Luchi and Kaku are out. They literally have no conscious enemies on the island as far as we know for the moment. It's also noteworthy that Luchi and Kaku have been bound with Sea Stone, so they should be powerless even when they wake up. And to make matters even better, Stussy is asked to come with them by Vegapunk and she agrees. I can see Sanji being happy about this, but Usopp hilariously points out that Vegapunk can't just keep adding people. And it's true, Vegapunk just keeps adding people on the ship, satellite, or clone like he's the captain himself. But then again, you can't expect mad scientists to be socially calibrated. In the meantime, we get a shot of Luffy just to remind us he is doing something and he's still just looking for Bonnie and Vegapunk. It's a situation you'd definitely expect to see Zoro in, meaning lost while the action is going on. It is cool how the immediate problems were solved though, without Luffy even needing to be there. I will say though, as I mentioned, things are too good now, and it's unlikely to stay this smooth, especially with Kizaru being on the way. And that is actually addressed in a big way soon, but first, we're told by the narrator that Vegapunk's main body, Stella, has vanished. We last saw him with Bonnie about to touch what looked like Kuma's memories. But we'll hopefully figure out what's happening with that in the next chapter. We need that Kuma flashback. Then, as if we didn't have enough crazy things going on around the world, we then jump to Sphinx, which you'll remember is Whitebeard's hometown and the place that was under his protection. Marco was sort of overseeing it before he went to Wano. We got the little kids explain the situation to Marco. The Marines came and they were in trouble. The Marines were looking for Whitebeard's treasure just like pirates. I mean, it makes sense. Whitebeard was a very famous pirate and you'd think he had a bunch of treasure. The Marine even threatens to shoot them, showing once again that the Marines can be just as bad or in many cases worse than pirates. What side you're on is trivial compared to one's individual character. It's pointed out that the Marines don't treat the helpless people of the island like humans simply because they can't pay the government tax. It's crazy that there were so many consequences to Marco just leaving for a little bit. The island definitely needs a protector. Luckily, as the granny is about to be shot in the flashback, the Marines are taken out by former warlord Weevil, self-proclaimed son of Whitebeard. And I'm starting to like this dude, I gotta say. Whether he is the true son or not, and that mustache definitely looks like he is, I like how seriously he takes his role as the son. He tells all of the Marines to stay away from his poppy's home. It's actually quite wholesome, I gotta say. And if you were wondering, yes, it's still ironic that Whitebeard treated everyone like his son except potentially his actual son. We see the power of Weevil though. All the Marines run crying from him. I love seeing how the former warlords continue to have such a huge impact on world events, and I'm hoping most of them just join Cross Guild because I want that organization to be as big as possible. Weevil is called a bona fide monster. The Marines request immediate assistance from the world government. A kid explains that Weevil saved the day. If he hadn't shown up, they and the village would be toast. It's very fitting that Whitebeard's son would save his treasured village from destruction. It's definitely nice to see how much Weevil works to be recognized as Whitebeard's son when there are people like Ace who try to distance themselves from their true father. Even Marco calls Weevil a hero, and yes, I think like Marco, I'm a Weevil fan too now. Smash that like button if you are too. Then we get something big. Former member of the Rocks Pirates, Miss Buckin, aka Buckingham Stussy, the real one, appears. She is, as we know, Weevil's mom, and she is crying, like you'd expect from a mom, no matter how legendary her reputation. It's funny too how she's labeled as a self-proclaimed scientist and also as Mad's resident freeloader. Looks like self-proclamations definitely run in this family. Anyway, she explains that Admiral Greenbull finally actually did something and he appeared, helping to capture Weevil. Stussy wants Marco to help get her son back and also to fork over Newgate's inheritance. So a bit of comedy there with the inheritance, but in all honesty, this is fascinating stuff. Now that we know what Stussy probably looked like before from her clone, it's not that difficult to believe that Whitebeard and her developed a relationship while being on the Rock's ship. Like Big Mom, Stussy looked good back in the day, and it's not hard to picture a man getting seduced by her. And now we might actually have Marco motivated to go save the son of Whitebeard. And even if he's not the real son, he acts so much like a son would, better in some cases, so perhaps that's enough to get Marco on board to help, especially considering how much the real Whitebeard meant to him. And so we have yet another crazy side story happening along with all of the others happening right now. And I gotta say, it's actually sad seeing Mom Stussy cry after Weevil as he screams mama from the ship. She cries before Marco saying he was sent to prison for protecting his father's village. She comments, "Don't you think our boy has a noble soul?" And Marco says, well, he appreciates them protecting the place at least. She can hear in his tone and from his words that Marco still doubts that Weevil is Whitebeard's actual son. So Stussy says she knows someone who can prove it. Vegapunk. Now, there has to be something there. Whether it's legit his son or a partial clone of Whitebeard remains to be seen, but we can't deny that there does seem to be something to it. The mustache doesn't lie, people, and it's super hype that we might have Marco reuniting with Luffy and crew because of this. After all, they have Vegapunk and Stussy just mentioned wanting to see Vegapunk with Marco. As if that wasn't enough for one chapter, we jump to Kizaru, the OG Admiral himself. It's revealed that one of the 5 elders is on the ship with him. He met Vegapunk before and thinks what's happening now is truly a shame. We're told one of the bigwigs finally makes a move. I myself said it would be hard to picture an elder coming to the battlefield, but I'll be the first to say it, I was wrong. Oda is clearly doing just that. And although I still don't expect much strength from the Elder, this is significant because he has the authority to bring the Seraphims back over to the Marine side. Now we have potentially Kizaru and the Seraphims being set up versus the Straw Hats. It's definitely a fight worth watching, and thus, despite the fact that it was cut short, it seems like we'll get to see Zoro versus Little Mihawk continue soon enough. And since the Warlords and the Seraphims are so hype and relevant right now, you definitely don't want to miss our video on all of the Warlords explained, link on screen and in the description, that not only covers everything you need to know about all of the Warlords, but goes into the Seraphims as well.